How would you like a trip to the U.S. Virgin Islands? Better yet, how would you like to be a high school student and get to travel to the Virgin Islands? Well, that was the case for two of our guests today, but it wasn't all fun and games. They were there for a purpose this summer, and we'll find out what that purpose was on this edition of Schools Out. Hello and welcome to another edition of Schools Out. I'm Jeff Demas, and today we're going to meet a Westerville science teacher and two of the students she took to the U.S. Virgin Islands this summer. They spent 10 days participating in a global health course sponsored by Past Innovations Lab. I can't begin to tell you all the things they studied there. I tried looking, so I'm going to get the help of my first guest. Please say hello to Autumn McCormick. Welcome to the show, Autumn.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining us. And let's talk a little bit, just get a little bit background on you first of all. You've been in Westerville Central for 13 years, is that right?
I have, yes.
And tell us about some of the courses you teach there.
Well, I primarily focus on the sciences. I teach some biomedical science courses, biology, and then AP biology as well.
Wow, that's great. So what, biomedical, I mean, when I was in high school, there was no such thing as that, biomedical science. What is involved in it? How in-depth did it get into the medical side of it?
Well, we've created a health pathways program, and this program allows students to kind of enter in and take a variety of different courses to immerse themselves in the science, to get some experiences, and to kind of break down the walls of the classroom and bring outside professionals in to kind of help guide them. And so we're definitely excited about it, and a lot of the students that I had were in a Principles of Biomedical Science program.
Okay, so this might be for a student who could be interested in medicine, but not necessarily, could also be interested in biology or both, or could work with doctors?
It's a general, I mean, in general, it's a great science course all around, but for students who know that they're interested in a biomedical profession, this would be a great course to get them exposure, see if that's actually what their interest is, and hopefully they stick with it.
Now, if they were going to be interested in the biomedical profession, would they have to become a licensed physician, or would...
No, not at all. Even a student who would be interested in EMT or the health administration side, could benefit from the experiences that we offer.
Well, that's amazing. How did you get your interest in the sciences and biology in particular?
I was always very interested, more in actually the marine sciences, but like I was kind of saying, good science is good science, and so when you see it, you just want to be a part of it, and I have a lot of passion for it.
Okay. Now you said that this came through, this event came through Past Innovations Lab. I assume that's an acronym for something?
It is, but I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Well, just tell me what Past Innovations Lab means or what it does.
Past Innovations is affiliated with Ohio State University, or down near Ohio State's campus, and they reach out and work with a lot of educational institutions to kind of instill good practices, good design, modeling, blended learning, so a variety of things to kind of like help teaching be at its best. And so Past Innovations Lab was willing to sponsor this global health trip and was working with Metro Early College High School as well, to provide this opportunity, and then they reached out to a lot of the other Central Ohio high schools, and we had some students who were interested and were able to join and embark on this awesome journey. That's
fantastic. And when you say sponsor, did they help with some of the costs too, or do students have to pay part of it, or how did that work?
Students did have to pay, to go on the trip, but they also supplied a lot of the materials that were needed. They offered coursework that the students had to take prior to going on the trip. We had to make sure that everybody was, a good swimmer, that they felt comfortable snorkeling, all the safety concerns, and then also getting into like the history of the island and all the different experiences that we were going to have down there. We wanted to make sure they were ready prior to the trip, and Past, helped support that, and we had it at their facility. And then they also had their researchers and educators that came on the trip as well.
Now, the students that went with you, did you choose them? Were they just interested in going? Whoever was interested could pay the way would go?
We promoted the courses through the Health Pathway series, and so in Westerville we had 3 students who were interested in attending, And then I think we had approximately 19 people total that went on the trip, and we had students from Dublin and Columbus, from Columbus Catholic, Metro Early College High School, so it was exciting.
And one of the students couldn't be with us today. That's Kayla, and that's because she's in college right
That's
now.
right.
Do you keep in touch with her?
I do. She's been doing really well, and she's just started at OSU. She's going to go into the medical profession, or she's hoping, and staying with the biological sciences. And so I'll keep my eye on her.
That's great. And of course, we're going to have the two of your other students. How do you think the trip went for them from your perspective, the 10 days in the Virgin Islands? Was it a success?
It was. I've been on other trips with students before, and this was incredibly rewarding. Everybody just got along so well. It was almost like we had all known each other, and really that wasn't the case. We all had to kind of meet and get used to the other students and how things work, but the kids just gravitated to one another. They formed interest groups, they picked their projects that they wanted to focus on and just really, went with it. And it was great to see.
That makes your job a little easier, doesn't it?
It was. That's it. That definitely helped.
But do they get some fun time? They get some downtime to explore the islands and things like that?
They did. I mean, we were always with them on all those things, but we definitely made sure to have some downtime, going to the beach, snorkeling kind of on their own, potentially doing some hiking. We were like an eighth of a mile away from one of the most beautiful beaches that you can imagine, and so the students would kind of go down and take a look at the beach, and they would go down and sit at the dock at night and do stargazing. It was cool.
And I'm sure the weather was horrible, because I've heard that about the
Awful.
Virgin Islands. Yeah,
85 degrees
all that
every day.
sunshine. Oh, it must have been hard to put up with.
It was. Lots of sunscreen.
Yeah, when you propose a trip like that, especially to the schools, when you say, well, we have to go to the Virgin Islands for this, it's kind of like when I say I have to go to Vegas for my broadcasting conference every year. I'm sorry, but
I know, you
that's
twist
where
our arms.
You twist your arms, but that's it. Is this your first time to the Virgin Islands? You've been there before?
It was my first time. I've been to a lot of Caribbean islands, but that was my first time there, and I was definitely surprised by its beauty, and the reef system was gorgeous. The tropical fish were amazing, and then just meeting the locals, learning about the culture, it was a great experience.
And speaking of the culture, I mean, it is U.S. territory, correct?
It is.
So does that make things easier as far as transportation, passports, things like that?
I felt so. We didn't necessarily have to have passports, but most of our students did. And we flew into St. Thomas, and then they ferry us over to St. John. And we were literally at the dead end of the road. There's like one major road in St. John's all the way around almost the entire island, and we were the last stop on the road.
Wow.
And so I think it was interesting when I would meet locals and I would say where we were staying, which was at the Virgin Islands Environmental Research Station, which is called VEERS.
Okay.
When we stayed there, there were people who were like, where's that? And it actually had originated with NASA. NASA had their Tektite explorations out there, and they had put the astronauts underwater for, I can't remember, 90 days or something like that, and that's where the Army stayed, was in this camp, and then VEERS has acquired it and has kids out there doing environmental research.
Now, you mentioned here, I know you said snorkeling, you're a scuba enthusiast. Did you get to scuba at all?
I did, yes. We actually got to do a 17th century shipwreck.
Wow.
That was still partially intact, that we were going down, and the Past Innovations Lab knew a woman who had gone out and excavated that shipwreck. And it was several years ago, so we had the opportunity to use her renderings and to go back and see if things had changed and moved and how. And the kids actually had a submersible robot that they put down and then took video footage and so forth of that shipwreck. So it was amazing. And then we sent that back to the professor who's out of Hawaii for her to kind of evaluate that work. So it was phenomenal.
Wow, that's fantastic. I got to go to Gahanna this summer, so that sounds amazing. Okay, well, we thank you for joining us, Autumn, and we're going to pause for a moment, but when we return, we'll meet one of the students who took the trip this summer. You're watching Schools Out. Stay with us.
You'd do anything to take care of that spot on your lawn. So why not take care of that spot on your skin? If you're a man over 50, you're in the group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the cancer that kills one person every hour. Check your skin for suspicious or changing spots, and ask someone you trust to check areas you can't see. Early detection can put you in a better spot. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out what to look for. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Welcome back to School's Out. Joining us now is a sophomore at Westerville Central. He enjoys biomedical science, I would hope so, and is continuing his studies in the health pathway. Plays soccer and is involved in several other activities at school. Please welcome Jack Riccobono. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. Did I say that correctly? Mm-hmm. Good, because your parents are here, so I wanted to make sure I get that right. Well, want to give a shout out to your parents?
Rebecca and John Riccobono.
Rebecca and John have joined us in the studio audience, so we appreciate your support for Jack. So tell me about this amazing venture. When did you first hear about it, and what were your thoughts?
It was, I think, third quarter in the school year, and Miss McCormick knew Miss Hayes, and she just kind of gave us a brief presentation on it. And right away, when I heard the word medicine, obviously, I'm in these classes, I got pretty hooked, and I just wanted more information about it, and then worked out, and I got to go eventually. So it was.
See, most kids would hear the word Virgin Islands. You heard the word medicine.
Yeah.
That got you interested in going.
The medicinal plant part
didn't hurt that it was in a beautiful place like that, right?
Did not hurt. Living in Ohio with those winters.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. So you went there in June. It was late June?
Mm-hmm, late June.
Okay. But the temperature was not too bad, you said?
No, it was like mid 85s all day.
Mid 80s most of the day, and lots of sunshine. Man,
yeah.
That sounds rough. But you had work to do while you were there, right? What kind of things did you get involved with?
Our group in particular, we were studying medicinal plants of the island. We had a speaker come named Atal, and he kind of gave us the island names. Scientific names get kind of complicated. So there's one called Stinky Toes, a little goofy. And then other days were other groups' days. So like Ms. McCormick was saying, we had a shipwreck day where we all were scuba diving looking for a shipwreck because no one really knew where it was. So their project was to make a map. So we all helped out with that. So we got to learn about everyone else's project while we were doing something for our own.
Now, when you say medicinal plants, so are these things that the natives use or the locals use for medical purposes?
Yeah, like they weren't, we don't exactly know if they really worked, but we assume they do just because they kept on using them. So like for like high blood pressure, diabetes, and just like liver disease, just things like that.
So you mentioned your guide again was Atal?
Atal, yes.
Okay. And what was his background? How was he involved in this?
He was one of the last culture bearers of the island, and he basically went around and he would make carvings with like the different plants. Like he'd make art also, but then he also wanted to teach other people about how he did it and like what was going on in his art. So he sold bracelets, and like there were little seeds on there that was like helpful for the heart. So it was just kind of like showing the medicine through the jewelry. So it's really cool.
Now, Ms. McCormick mentioned that you were at Veers, is that right? The research center. And which island was that located on?
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas, right? Is that right? Yeah, okay. And but there are several islands that make up the Virgin Islands. Did you get to go to all of them or some of them? Or?
We got to go to St. John also, and then when we were scuba diving, so we had a boat take us around. So we saw a bunch of the different islands, but we didn't go on all of them.
Not on all of them. Okay. But you got to see plenty, I'm sure. What was your favorite thing about the trip? Can you narrow it down to one or two?
Well, I did really like the scuba diving. Had
you ever done it before?
No. Okay. So it was.
Tell me what that was like.
It was just. I mean, I wasn't expecting like amazing things because I know how coral reefs have been destroyed. But when I went in these coral reefs, they were just amazing. The colors were everything you would expect, like the brightest of yellows, and the fish were just amazing. You would get so close to some, and you just, because ponds around here, you throw a rock and everything runs as fast as it can, but you can get feet from huge fish, so it's really cool.
Wow, that's amazing. How deep did you go?
When you're scuba diving, you can't go super deep, but you can free dive if you see something cool. You gotta make sure you're laid back, and you gotta make sure you're not touching something that's gonna hurt, so like a sand dollar or something like that. Okay. So you could free dive a little bit, but not too deep.
Okay, so not too, but you got deep. And so this was where you did the shipwreck adventure?
Mm-hmm. Well, that was just one of our sites. And
one of your sites. What was that like?
The person we were talking to that knew it was there told us kind of the cove or bay it was in, and so our driver for our boat kind of knew where it was, so we went in there, and someone told us, whoever found the shipwreck first got a pizza. So I got everyone in the water pretty fast.
I can imagine, yeah.
So then we were all scuba diving for 15, 20 minutes, and then we finally found it. It was just kind of...
Did you win the pizza?
Yes, we won the pizza. We ended up sharing it with everyone, but...
Well, of course. You're all a group. Yeah, Ms. McCormick said you guys just bonded like with students from other schools, and did you make some really good friends, you think?
Yeah, I'm still in contact with some of them, which is cool, so it was just like, because I knew Hannah, but we had another person named Chris in our group, and we all got along so well, and just, it was so much easier to do a project like that, so.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
What were your accommodations like at night?
The boys in one tent and girls in another tent, obviously.
It was tense?
But it wasn't tents, it was like little cabins, and then the screen doors screen everything because it was really hot and we only had fans. So it was nice, but the screen doors, you could hear everything, and there's hermit crabs everywhere, so you could hear them crawling all over the leaves, and after it rains, the frogs, so it was definitely a different sleeping environment than I was used to.
But no major incidents, because a little birdie told me you're a little bit accident prone.
Yes. No major incidents.
You didn't come back with a cast on or anything?
No,
like that?
just a little sunburn, but...
Little sunburn, okay. Yeah, you told me you before the show went on, you fell asleep?
I fell asleep on the top of our boat when we were going from bay to bay, and I woke up, and a few hours later I realized I messed up.
Yeah. So what do you? I know you're only a sophomore, but what are your plans for continuing with this? So do you have any idea what you'd like to do at this point?
I have ideas. Like, I would love to be an ER doctor. That's kind of the dream, but part of the reason you're in these biomedical pathway classes is you do things called career journals, where you research certain jobs so that kind of can show you like a new side of things. So like, I remember just recently I did a forensic anthropologist, so that if you want to be like the police force but want to still get involved with science, there's ways to do that. So they do a really good job of showing you all the different pathways you can take with this.
That's amazing. Now, what is the exit of this? Did you have to do any reports? Did you have to do any writing or anything when you got back?
For the trip?
For the trip yourself?
Well, we created a pamphlet from some data that we gathered from a trip, and then most data from Atoll, because he knew a lot more of it. And then we created a chart, like a little pamphlet, just an informative chart for people in Atoll, and just to show how Atoll was one of the last culture bearers of the island and how much he knew and how much these plants are said to do. So it was a cool piece. Okay,
so if you had to do all over again, you'd jump on it in a minute?
Oh yeah.
I can imagine. Well, Jack, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hope your parents enjoyed watching you on TV a little bit too, and good luck to you with whatever you do in the future.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take another break, and then when we return, we'll have our third guest, a senior at Westerville Central and another participant in the Virgin Islands trip. Stay tuned.
If you or your organization are involved in an interesting extracurricular activity and you would like to be a guest on Schools Out, you can call 823-1563 or email to jdemas@otterbein.edu. Please leave your name, the name of the school you or your students attend, a brief description of your activity, and a number or email where we can reach you. Schools Out is a WOCC studio production.
Drownings are the #1 cause of accidental death for young children. Simple safety steps are the best way to prevent these tragedies. Make sure kids learn how to swim. Designate an adult water watcher to watch kids in and around water. Save the phone calls and texts for when the kids are out of the water. Properly fence all pools with fences at least 4 feet high and with self-closing, self-latching gates. When above-ground pools aren't in use, remove the ladders. When pools aren't in use, cover them. Teach kids to stay away from drains. And if a child is missing, check the pool or spa first. Consider the steps you take, then add a few more. Because you never know which pool safety step will save a life. Until it does. Simple steps save lives. To learn some new ones, visit poolsafely.gov.
My next guest is a senior at Westerville Central. She has a passion for medicine, and because of that, gets to spend part of her school day at Past Innovations Lab. And she will take part in a research project this year with an OSU professor. Please welcome Hannah Worley. Welcome to the show. You're welcome. Thank you for coming on today. And this is kind of an exciting thing. It's one of those things where you don't really feel like you're forced to do this because you're excited to talk about this, I imagine.
Yeah.
This is your passion.
Yeah.
So tell me a little about you're interested in medicine. Are you looking at becoming a doctor, or where do you think you'll go with that?
I want to become a pharmacist.
Pharmacist.
Actually,
okay.
yeah.
Good. So if I know all the good drugs, I can come to you. You'll dispense them.
Oh yeah, hit me up in a few years.
That's right. Yeah. But what kind of schooling does that require for pharmaceutical medicine then?
Well, most places there's a 6-year degree or an 8-year degree. So some places still require you to get an undergraduate degree and then go into pharmacy school. But more and more schools are turning towards just 2-year prerequisite courses and then entrance into pharmacy school.
Okay, so there is a little bit of an accelerated program to get you through there. Do you know where you're going yet, or?
I'm not sure yet, but I'm applying to a few schools that have good pharmacy schools. So
Okay.
just kind of waiting now.
Just kind of waiting to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your adventures on the trip now, and again, when you first heard about it, what were you thinking?
Well, I just immediately saw the presentation she put on and wanted to go. Like I was really adamant about if I could get a spot because she kind of acted like it was going to fill up fast. So I really wanted to, get my foot in the door and be able to go. I showed up the next day with the check to hold my spot, and yeah, I really wanted to go as soon as I found out about it.
And no regrets at all?
Oh no, it was amazing. I would go back in a heartbeat.
Had you been off the States before? Or? Okay.
Yeah, I've been to Europe before, but never anywhere like really tropical or even in nature really. So.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
new
So this was your first kind of roughing it thing.
Yeah.
Now, Jack mentioned that you were in cabins and so forth, but were the accommodations fairly? I mean, it wasn't really roughing it, was it? You had plenty of food.
No, yeah, food was good. People kind of complained about it, but it was like it's completely volunteer run. So it was college students pretty much who were doing research for the summer who would go and they would just cook the meals, and it was like a home cooked meal. It was
great.
Yeah. So it was good food. The cabins were pretty nice. There were beds, and we were all in there and we just talk and. With everyone around, it really wasn't bad at all.
Okay, I imagine it's hard though when it's like a dorm style and you're talking.
Yeah.
You stay up all night and.
Unfortunately, we did.
Unfortunately, yeah. But what time did they get you up the next morning?
Well, I would wake up. I think around 5:45 was when the birds would start chirping, and everyone would wake up at that time. But we'd have to get up. I think at 7 o'clock for breakfast. They'd ring this bell, and then everyone would go get food.
Okay, tell me about your favorite experiences. I know Jack mentioned the underwater dive stuff. Did you enjoy that as well, or what things did you like?
Yeah, I really like the boat days the best. We went to the mangroves a couple times, and the wildlife is just spectacular. And there, it's really pretty wherever we were, but in the mangroves especially, there's like baby fish, and they feel safer there. So there's just, a lot more to see, and it was just, like, I don't think I'm ever going to see anything like that again, so it's very special.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I imagine it is also interesting to you when they talked about the plant healing and natural plants and healing and stuff like that. Because, I mean, most of the drugs we have come from some sort of plant, right? So was that a particular interest to you?
Yeah, I saw that on the paper that she gave us, the medicinal plants part, and how there's information on that, and that just really seemed to tie into everything that was great there.
So you, when you went home and you told your parents about this, I assume, and what was their reaction to you going to the Virgin Islands?
Well, they were just really excited. Like, they wanted to talk to me about it, see all my pictures, because there wasn't really cell reception there, so they didn't really know anything that we were doing. And the call was really expensive, so I could just tell them, like, oh, we did this today, we did this, but then to go back and actually show them all the pictures and just have them, like, see how pretty it was. Because when I was there, I just kind of, like, I missed them and everything, but I wanted them there, too, just so, like, they could experience it as well, because it was just so, amazing. And
10 days without cell, wow.
That's kind of
difficult.
I don't know how I did it.
Yeah. What about online? Do you have access to any internet at all, or?
We didn't have internet. We'd have to pay for Wi-Fi, and it's kind of unreliable, so we just didn't really think it was worth it. But we'd get to certain places and we'd be like holding up our phones, and we'd get a little bit of data. So
just
we'd
a bar, just give me a bar.
Exactly. Like, we'd be walking around like, we got 3. Because if you had like 3 little bars, then you could like receive a text or whatever. Like, it was, we'd hunt it out, and it was special.
Well, tell me about the terrain then of the Virgin Islands. You did talk before we went on the show about some mountains, and what kind of things did you see there that may be different from the States?
Well, there were mountains, and they had there was cactus. Like, you could see the ocean, but there'd just be like a bunch of cacti around you because we were on the dry part of the island. and Miss McCormick talked about how we were on the road and we were like the last stop. On the way there, you just, you know, be up and down because it was just so bumpy because the road wasn't like paved or anything. And you just get higher and higher, and there'd be really sharp turns, and there's plant life everywhere. But it was just like everywhere you look, there's something new to see, you know, whether the ocean or a cactus or, you know, different types of plants.
Did you scuba?
I snorkeled.
You snorkeled?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Did they have scuba lessons for those? I didn't ask Jack that when he was on. Did they have scuba lessons for those who wanted to do that, or?
Well, you have to get certified
You have to
to
get
scuba,
certified
so
first,
it was
right?
more like the people who'd already done it before decided to
Okay.
do that, but the rest of, we all snorkeled more than any of them scubaed.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But you can see some pretty cool stuff snorkeling. I
Oh
imagine.
yeah, definitely. We saw like turtles that were even on the bottom because the water was so
Really?
clear there. And,
Oh, it's
yeah.
clear, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really easy to see
I wonder
everything.
what it's like to have clear water.
I know.
No. Now, speaking of clear water, though, that everything you drank was rainwater. Is that right? How does that work?
Well, they have this like, it looks like a big tent, and I guess it just, you know, when it rains, it like saves all the water in there, and then, you know, it's filtered out to make it safe and everything, and like they use it for cooking, and for the water we would drink, it was filtered to the showers and the bathrooms, so we had
But
to be really careful about how much water we used.
But that means conservation, right? So the old sailor scrub, did you get
Pretty
used
much.
to the 3-minute shower?
Yeah, they told us to go in there and then sing a song, like have like a 3-minute song in our head, and
Okay.
then when we had the water turned on, start to sing it, and then, you know, turn it off to like scrub off or whatever, and then just turn it back on and rinse. So it wasn't that difficult.
Can I ask
So-
what song you used?
Oh, I didn't use a song. I would just count.
Just count?
Yeah.
What about washing your hair? That doesn't. So you didn't get to wash your hair at all, or?
You just gotta turn the water on, get it wet, and then turn the water off, scrub
Oh,
it. You know, so it's really off and on. I guess
Yeah.
cold water. You know, because you don't have time for the water to heat up. But
Well, that sounds pretty amazing. It sounds like you had an amazing adventure.
oh,
Do you
it was
do it
great.
again?
Yeah, they're having another trip in the summer, so I'm kind of,
Oh, okay.
you know, thinking about asking, but I know it's a big deal. So.
Yeah, will be the same place, do you know?
Mhm.
Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same place. I think they're doing a lot of the same activities, but, you know, I wouldn't find it boring at all. There's so much to see. I'm sure I missed so much when I was there. So.
Well, I'm just happy for you that you got to go on this trip, and I hope that will help you in your future plans to become a pharmacist someday.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Hannah Wardy, for joining us, and we'd like to thank you for joining us on Schools Out. I hope you enjoyed it. Want to also, again, thank our guests, Autumn McCormick, Jack Riccobono, and Hannah Worley, and my special thanks to the crew of WOCC Productions. We'll see you next time on Schools Out.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A covenant that split the skies over Berlin. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A promise was made. A solemn oath that liberated Seoul. A sacred trust that defended Quezon. A pact that dug in Da Nang. A contract that weathered Tet. A promise was made. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. A bond that patrolled door to door in Fallujah. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. A promise we all must keep. DAV fights for all veterans and their families so they get the health care, financial benefits, and support they earned. If you're a veteran who needs help or you'd like to help us keep the promise, visit DAV.org.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. The best part about playing soccer is that I get to run around and have fun. Just because I had a heart transplant, I don't expect people to take it easy on me. I can still do anything they can do. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live. I feel like it's my responsibility to live each day to the fullest. And the thing I look forward to the most is having my own family.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.